Back in the 1950s, James Dean was one of the most recognizable bad boy actors of his generation. His raw, rebellious spirit was something new and exciting for Hollywood. With only 3 major films under his belt and a career that lasted only 5 years, Dean managed to become a bona fide Hollywood icon. He was young, handsome, talented, and just a little bit dangerous. Qualities that made audiences, especially young audiences, idolize him. But Dean had another passion beyond acting: fast cars. And this passion would lead him down a path that ended in tragedy. As the saying goes, James Dean lived fast and died young. But Dean isn't only known for the way he lived. He's also known for the strange circumstances surrounding how he died. Or more specifically, about the deadly curse surrounding his car, the Little Bastard. When we talk about haunted or cursed vehicles, James Dean's Little Bastard has become known as one of the most cursed cars in history. The Little Bastard is the name the movie star gave to his silver Porsche 550 Spyder, a car that he bought just a week before he died in the vehicle. Between 1951 and 1953, James Dean had several uncredited roles before he got his first big break playing the rebellious son attempting to win his father's approval in the 1955 film East of Eden. This was a role that would earn him a posthumous Oscar. Dean's breakout role in East of Eden was followed by his next legendary starring role in Rebel Without a Cause. This is the role most people would remember him by, the one in which the young actor came to typify the teenage disillusionment and social estrangement of the era. From there, he went on to star in the film Giant as a Texas rancher who discovers oil. It seemed like James Dean was poised to become one of the greatest actors of his generation. But Dean had a reputation as a rebel both on and off the screen. He was a high school athlete, and one other thing he liked to do was drive, and drive fast. In April 1954, just after securing a co-starring role in East of Eden, Dean purchased a 1955 Triumph Tiger motorcycle. From there, he moved on to purchasing a succession of other fast cars, including a 1953 MG and a 1955 Porsche Speedster. Just 3 days after wrapping filming on East of Eden, Dean traded the Triumph Tiger in for yet another racing motorcycle. During all this time, he entered and often won a lot of races throughout California. This didn't exactly go over well with the studios, who weren't too happy about the prospect of what would happen if one of their hottest new stars got in a wreck. The studio put their foot down and refused to allow Dean to race while filming Giant. In July of 1955, Dean put down a deposit on a new Lotus Mark 9 sports racer, but he was told the Lotus delivery would be delayed until autumn. So on September 21st, he suddenly traded in his Porsche Speedster for a Porsche 550 Spyder that he painted with the name The Little Bastard. This was an inside joke after studio executive Jack Warner called Dean a little bastard after he refused to vacate his trailer on the studio's lot. The Porsche had an open top with a tiny windshield and a massive engine. The car could top out at a speed of 143 miles per hour. Porsche only built 90 of the cars, and only a handful survived today. That's because even a minor collision could total the vehicle. The cars were made of lightweight aluminum, which worked great for speed but was terrible at protecting the occupants. It didn't take anywhere near close to the max speed for a crash to prove fatal. Dean only had the car for 9 days before he died in a wreck. He was behind the wheel of the Little Bastard on his way to Salinas, California, heading to a race at the Sports Car Club of America. His mechanic, Rolf Wolferich, was riding shotgun. Originally, Dean planned on towing the car to Salinas, but Wolferich encouraged Dean to drive the car from LA to Salinas to break it in. At 3:30 p.m. on September 30th, 1955, Dean was ticketed for speeding. A couple hours later, Dean was driving westbound on U.S. Route 466 when another car made a sharp left turn in front of him. Dean swerved to miss the other car, but he wasn't able to avoid the collision, and the two cars hit almost head-on. He slammed into the other car at an estimated speed of 85 miles per hour. The other driver, 23-year-old Donald Turnip Speed, survived, as did Rolf Wolferich. But Dean wasn't so lucky. He died at the scene of a broken neck and fractured skull. The intersection where the collision occurred remains notorious for accidents even to this day. It's been suggested that a combination of things may have contributed to the crash. Some people have speculated that the sun may have been in Dean's eyes at that time of day, and since his car was so low to the ground, he would have effectively been driving blind and may not have even been aware the other car turned in front of him. Although some versions of the story claim that Dean's last words were, "That guy's got to stop. He'll see us." One thing we do know is what happened to Dean's car after the crash, or rather, what remained of it, at least up to a point. The Porsche was declared a total loss and sent to a scrapyard. Doctor and race car driver William Esrich, who knew Dean from racing, had been specifically looking for the little bastard and managed to find the wreck in Burbank. He yanked the engine out of the vehicle and put it into his own Lotus 9 race car. Then he gave the transmission and suspension parts to a friend and fellow racer named Troy Lee McHenry. But this is where things start to get weird. About 11 months after Dean's death, both Esrich and McHenry crashed at the same race, the 1956 Pomona Road Race. Both men were driving cars that contained parts of James Dean's little bastard. Esrich survived the crash, but McHenry wasn't so lucky. He collided with the only tree on the racetrack and died. It wasn't long after that when another famous name entered the story. This was George Barris. He was a renowned Hollywood custom car designer who built, among other things, the hearse driven by the family in the TV show The Munsters, as well as the original TV Batmobile. So it only makes sense then that Barris would be drawn to a vehicle with such a dark origin story as the little bastard. Barris claimed that he bought the little bastard's wrecked frame and body from Dean's family. He then sold off 2 of the original tires. After that, he loaned what was left of the mangled frame to the Los Angeles National Safety Council as a traveling warning to drivers to stay safe. Incidentally, just a week before James Dean's fatal accident, the actor filmed a public safety announcement that took on an even greater significance. In the PSA, Dean warns drivers to stay safe out on the roads because, as he said, the next life you save might be mine. But evidently, the little bastard had a mind of its own when it came to safety, because terrible things continued to occur around the car after it went out on the road during the traveling expo. Barris claimed that the car gave off bad vibrations. He said that one time a thief tried to steal the steering wheel off the car and broke his arm during the attempt. The car fell off its display on several occasions. During one of those incidents, it injured a bystander. Another time, it killed George Barkis, a truck driver hired to transport the car's remains. There were also rumors that the 2 tires Barris sold blew out at the same time, causing yet another accident. Then, while the car was in storage, the vehicle caught on fire for an unknown reason. After that, while the car was being transported from Miami to Los Angeles, the vehicle vanished en route. Legend has it that the Spyder was being driven from a traffic safety exhibit in Florida inside a sealed truck. Only when they opened the truck up in Los Angeles, even though the seal was still intact, the boxcar was empty. Depending on who you ask, there's only one part remaining from what has come to be known as Dean's death car, a transaxle found in a wooden crate in rural Massachusetts. That piece would sell at auction in May 2021 for $387,000. Although some stories claim that the family of William Esrich still owns the Spyder's engine, and thus far has remained uncursed. So does that mean the curse isn't real? Some people, like author Lee Raskin, who wrote a biography of James Dean, thinks that Barris was having fun for a while perpetuating the myth about Dean's car. But over time he got tired of it, so he took steps to intentionally make the car disappear. In 2015, a story spread that the car's frame had allegedly been found. That was when a man contacted Brian Grams, the museum director of the Volo Auto Museum in Volo, Illinois, which contains many rare vehicles. The museum had been offering $1 million for anyone who could produce the little bastard's remains. The man told Grams he remembered seeing his father and some of his friends hiding the wrecked car in a building in Washington state when he was 6 years old. Even though the man passed a polygraph test, he was unable to produce the missing Porsche. Further investigations revealed that the building where the man said he saw the car being stored is no longer standing. This led Grams to speculate that either the car was lost in the building's demolition, or someone else got their hands on it and is keeping it secret. We don't know if James Dean's little bastard was really cursed or not. One thing we do know, though, is there were people who tried to warn Dean about the car ahead of time. One of whom was a young actor who encountered Dean on September 23, 1955, the day Dean got the car. The actor and a friend of his showed up at a packed Hollywood restaurant and were turned away. They were then approached by James Dean, who was there, and offered to let them join him at his table. Before taking him up on his offer, Dean was excited to show the 2 men his new car. There in the courtyard was the little silver Porsche. It was still done up in cellophane with a bunch of roses strapped to the hood. The actor asked Dean how fast it could go. Dean told him about 150 miles per hour. That was when the actor said a strange feeling struck him. He later said in interviews that he couldn't explain exactly what came over him, but he implored Dean to please not get in that car. He then looked at his watch and said, "If you get in that car at all, it's now Thursday, 10 o'clock at night, and by 10 o'clock at night next Thursday, you'll be dead." Dean, of course, brushed off this warning, only he really shouldn't have. See, because that young actor was Alec Guinness, the future Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if I've learned anything from Star Wars, it's when a Jedi has a bad feeling about something, you really should listen. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see even more creepy content like it, then click the video on the screen. Thanks again.